We're going to start this assignment by going up to File in the menu down to New Document. This window will pop up. We want to make sure we're in Print, Letter, and then we'll come over here to the Details, and we want to make this a 3-page document. We're going to leave columns and gutters alone right now. Margins we'll leave alone for just a second, so we'll set those all at 0. Bleed and slug, we'll set those things at 0 as well. And now we're going to click Create. And we should get a blank document that looks something like this. The next thing we want to do is we want to go up to Window in the menu and down to Workspace and Essentials Classic. That should put the Properties panel across the top here, and it should put our other palettes over here on the right-hand side, Pages and Properties. Now I want to impose some margins, a bleed, and a slug on this particular page. Before I do that, though, you should note in the Pages palette, I can see now that I have something called Page 1, Page 2, and Page 3. That's a spread. And Pages palette is how you manage a multi-page document. I've left the margins and guides off the document setup just to show you what a blank page looks like. Now I'm going to return to the document setup and I'm going to make those changes. I'm going to set up margins of 3 picas all the way around because I have this chain selected. When I type it here once and tap somewhere else, all of them change. And then I'm going to go down and change the bleed to 1 pica, and I'm going to change the slug on the bottom, put it on the bottom to 3 picas. And now I'm going to hit OK. And you should see that on every page we have a red line, which is a bleed. At the bottom we have a blue line, which is a slug. And we now on the spread have the same bleeds and slugs set up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to this thing in the Pages palette, these parent pages, and if I click on the parent thing, both of these highlight. You can see clicking here highlights both of them. And what I want to do on the parent page, I want to create some universal guides that will apply to all the document pages in the publication. So I have to be on the parent pages to do that. I go up to Layout in the menu and down to Create Guides. I'm going to enter about 8 guides, and you can see as I click these rows and I get to 8, blue or cyan guides appear on the page. I'm going to come over to the columns and I'm going to click to get about a 6-column structure. There is nothing magic or necessarily about these measurements, these 8x6. I just find that it gives you a nice balanced square space with 1 pica gutters all around to hang your art and your copy on. Finally, under Options, you want to make sure you have Fit Guides to Margins selected. And I hit OK. So now when I leave the parent pages here and I go down to each page in my document, the first right-hand page, the second left-hand page, the third right-hand page, you can see that these grid lines or guidelines are universal. They're on every page in the document. So that's why you want to always set up these repeating elements on parent pages. Once I've established these guidelines, I'm now going to come to page 1. I'm going to click on the Type tool over in the Tool palette. And I'm going to come over here in the middle of the page and I'm going to go 2 by 2, a 2-row by 2-column type frame. And I'm going to type the headline of our assignment, which is For Return Famous Photos. Now I want to go down to page 2 of my 2-page spread, and I want to add some headline type and some body copy for my layout. I'm going to go to the Type tool here, click, and I'm going to start in row 1, and I'm going to click and drag across 2 columns and with 1 row. I will then come to Type in the menu and come down to Fill with Placeholder Text. I want to set this type at a headline size, 20 points or above. You can set it in any size you want. Just don't go below 20. You can set it in any font you want. Once I have set that type, you can see that I can come over to the selection tool and I can click on the handle and I could drag that headline out to 3 columns. I could drag it out to 4 columns. I could drag it out to 5 or even 6. We will leave it at 6 columns for right now, and I only want 2 lines for the headline at this point. So I can move that handle there. I'm now ready to put in some body copy. So I click back again on the type tool into the second row, and I click and drag out a 6 column by 2 row text frame. I then go to type in the menu and go down to fill with placeholder text. So now I have some body copy. I want to set the body copy by highlighting all of it in 10-point size on 12-point leading. It defaults to Minion Pro. You can choose any typeface you want. That's a design decision you're going to have to make. Now what I want to do is I want to place some photos into this spread to be able to work with them and create a layout. I'm going to go to File in the menu and down to Place. I'm going to look inside the Designing with a Grid folder, and I'm going to find Migrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are photos from Migrant Mother, the famous photo series. Now, if I click on one and hit open, and I come and I just click, you can see the picture comes in really, really big, and I don't want that. And if I click and drag, I can pull a photo in like that, and it'll come in to that size, aligned to 2 columns on the grid. I want to do something else, though. I want to put all the photos in 2 columns at one time. So I'm going to go to File in the menu and down to Place. I'm going to shift click on all these pictures. So I'm going to get all 4 of them, and I'm going to say Open. And then I'm going to come out and click and drag across 2 columns for each photo. So there's 1. There's 2. They might be a little over. There's 3. And there's 4. Those are the 4 photos that'll be in my layout. At this point, I'm ready to begin moving these images around on the page and also scaling and cropping them. Remember, to move an image, I can simply click anywhere inside of it, but not on the donut in the center. That's called the content grabber. And I could move this picture, for example, close to the other pictures. I could click on this picture and I could pull it down here. And now I have used the grid to create equal spacing between them. And I've simply made a more cohesive layout by just using the grid to organize these pictures so that they are equal distances apart from each other. Now I'm ready to scale these images up and move them somewhere else. So I'm going to take the same image, not that it's the best image at all, I'm just using this as an example. I'm going to put it over here, and I'm going to enlarge this out to about 1, 2, 3, 4 column grid structure. Then I'm going to fit the content proportionally. You can see if I click on the handle and drag down, there's nothing below there. If I drag over here, you'll see there's some more, it's cropped out there, but I'm still running across 4 columns and about, it looks like about almost 3.5 or 3 3/4 rows. Now, if I want to crop part of this image, I can come in and click on the handles, and I can drag in using the grid lines as well, and also the subject matter of the photo as a guide. I'm interested in this person here sitting on the rocking chair, and I want to isolate that person. So I can drag this down some, and I can click and move that person more in the center, and I could tighten up right up to the edge of the rocking chair if I'd like, so that I have that individual right in the center of the frame. So I can keep moving the individual inside the frame, and I can move the edges of the frame to crop the individual some more. By the same token, I can enlarge that person inside that frame if I want to make them a bigger center of interest. I can do that by clicking on the donut, the content grabber, coming out and grabbing the edge of the picture, which is way out here. I'm going to hold the Shift key because I don't want to distort it. And then I can drag and enlarge that individual to get a picture within a picture. They're frequently pictures within pictures. So I'm now isolating that particular individual in that way. And that's how I found a picture within a picture. Final thing to give you some creative freedom in your layout is manipulation of the type. If I click on my selection tool and I click on the type block here, I can move this type anywhere I need to move it, and I would use the grid structure to hang the type on the grid if I wanted to do that. You can also take the type and change the column widths using the grids just by dragging in the handles. So if I wanted one long column of type, I would drag that there and then pull this down, and you can see it comes down to the very bottom, and I have this little plus box, which means there's more hidden type still in this block of copy. You don't want to leave a plus box. So if I click on that red plus box, I get a text gun again, and now I can come to another part of the layout, and I could click, and it would flow all the way across the column if I did that. I'm going to undo that. If I come and click and drag, it will flow across a single column somewhere else like that. Now, these copy blocks are snaked or joined together. If I click on this copy block and I pull out the margins, watch what happens to the copy block on the right. It goes away. So now I've got all of my copy over here, again, in this part of the column. If I take and split this instead of 4 rows to 2, it goes back to there. I can also take this and put it on somewhere else on another page. I could use my grid to make sure my 2-page spread lined up and was uniform by pulling that copy there and that copy there. So you can move copy anywhere around on the pages that you want. I'm going to come back and click and pull this back into one single column or 2-column row of type, 2-column 4 rows of type. Remember, you can also set type using the type tool. Come in and select it, and you definitely would probably want to set the type here. It just needs to remain 10 on 12, but you can change the font if you'd like. You should come over and probably experiment some with things like indentions. Like, for example, this is the first line indent. I can do something like that. If I want to have a tool event, like go to OnePica. If I wanted to create a tool of emphasis, for example, drop caps, I could click on any particular paragraph, and then I can come down here and I could click on the paragraph formatting controls, and I would come over, and here are the drop cap settings. So I could make this a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or go back to none. So I can do that using these paragraph formatting controls, and I can make other changes like to the font and to the alignment, to the style, to the indentions using the character formatting controls.